Welcome to Stories That Sell, the podcast for business owners who want to create real connection through their content. I'm your host, Naomi Rose, and each week I will be speaking with an incredible person talking about their stories from behind the business. Not just what they do, but who they are. Because behind every business, there's a person, and the person is the reason people choose to trust you, buy from you, and recommend you. So in these conversations, we go a bit deeper than the surface level offers that you might have. We talk about the journeys, the decisions, the moments that shape them, and the stories that have built relationships, their reputation, and the way they show up today. Connection builds relationships, relationships build reputation, and that's what leads to referrals and real business growth. Let's get on with today's episode. Some people follow a clear expected path in their careers: school, qualifications, job, climb the ladder. And then there are people like the Amazon bestselling author Jess Wesson, aka Jolly Jess, who didn't take the traditional route. Originally from Liverpool, Jess moved to London at just 17 to train at the prestigious Bird College, stepping straight into the world of dance, theatre and performance. What followed was a career that most people only have ever seen from the audience. West End productions like Tina Turner the Musical, Hairspray, 42nd Street, international stages, cruise ships, television appearances. I could go on, but this is a life built around discipline, creativity, and performance. But the next chapter didn't come from some perfectly mapped out plan. It started because her agent told her quite simply she could earn more money if she added circus skills to her repertoire. So she did. Jess started learning circus skills from aerial performance to fire breathing, and what started as a practical decision quickly turned into something she fell in love with. She worked across high-profile events around the world. She built a reputation for doing things that most people wouldn't even consider trying. Jess took everything she learned, the resilience, the adaptability, the confidence to try something new and make it work, and channeled it into building a business, Showtime Circus, which is an award-winning children's activity brand that she built from scratch, scaled into a nationwide business, and then turned into a franchise. So now, a long-time Showtime Circus, Jess is now helping other business owners franchise their own fabulous businesses, taking their ideas and turning them into something they can actually grow and scale. If Jess demonstrates anything, it's that anything can be turned into a scalable business. As Jess says, being an entrepreneur is exactly like being a performer. Jess, welcome to Stories That Sell.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I am so excited to have you here because obviously, you know, I love performance and that's my kind of jam, and being in that world is just such a magical place, but it's also a really challenging place. And being able to take all of that and then turn it into a business, which goes against the grain of what you are grown up as a performer to believe, you're believed it's going to be in the struggle, is just incredible. When you were going back to when you were 17 or before then, how did you know that you wanted to be in performance? What was it that really drew you to being in that world?
I loved it. I was very drawn to the glamour of it. I'm not from the most affluent place in the UK, and I think I saw it as a chance to do something really exciting. I always did things differently, and I knew that I wanted to move away and travel and do all of the glittery, happy, sparkly things that dance promised me, I guess.
Were there any times during that? I mean, I know as a performer, we get told no a lot. No is something we get very much used to in the world of auditioning and being pushed back. Did you ever doubt that ability to be able to do something that you actually were really, truly passionate about?
I think during the last couple of years of my training at Bird College, I really was like doing loads of research, watching every musical I could, going out. And I just had a real, looking back, I think it was a mental block of like, I'm not good enough to do that. So then I but I was determined I was going to. So in my third year, I was at auditions more than I was at college, and they were very supportive of it because I was so determined I was going to do that. And I didn't know what that looked like for me. I was always very happy to just make a living performing. So I was never like, right, I'm going to be on the West End and that's my one and only goal. I was just, will somebody pay me to perform? I'll take that job.
I love that. What was the first audition where they said yes to you professionally?
The first professional one, yes, was a pantomime in where was my first? Bristol Hippodrome. Mickey Rooney was in it, as well as like other celebrities. So it was a huge deal. And I remember being on the train home, ringing every single one of my family members to tell them. And everyone in the train carriage was like, oh, she's ringing someone else to tell them the same story. But I was so chuffed because it was a ruthless audition. Like, there were so many people there. People were getting cut, going outside, changing their top, changing their hair, and coming back in again to try and get it. Like, it was ruthless. And I made it to the last. There was three female dancers, three male dancers, and then obviously the cast. So Cinderella and all of that were cast as well. So like, it was ruthless, and I was thrilled to be chosen as one of those dancers.
Oh, I mean, that is just, it is such a ruthless world. People don't actually see that kind of side of it, really. What do you think that has maybe taught you about being in business? Because a lot of business owners that I speak to don't like the rejection of being told no more than they're told yes. But like you're saying, people are actually kind of getting told no, going out, changing, and going back in and doing something else. And there's that kind of constant, like, I need to achieve this. Whereas with business owners, they often kind of go, oh, well, they don't want my services, so I'll walk away. How do you think that's really taught you to keep pushing forward with what you believe in and what you want to do?
I think it's really helped with resilience, definitely. I have never had that thought of, oh, you don't want me, okay, I'll go bad. Like, I've never thought like that. I think just because I'm so used to the knockback. So, you know, it's always, okay, you don't want me now. I'm not the right one for you, but you still need that service. Like, it's like many different reasons they may not want me has never made me go, oh, I need to stop what I'm doing. And I think that is the resilience that comes from performing because you're used to being like, as a dancer, I genuinely was too tall for some things. I genuinely was too small for some things. Like the Lido in Paris, they had a stick, and if your head didn't touch the stick when you walked in the audition, you had to leave again because you weren't tall enough. So, it I'm used to just, if the face fits, great, I get the job, as well as talent and hard work. But I think that's what I've taken through to business is, if I'm not right for you right now, it doesn't mean I won't be in a couple of months' time, years' time, just keep pushing.
Yeah, that is such a strong attitude to take, and not to worry about the rejection and the no's, because it's just part of the train of life, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously in the world of circus, what I love is the fact that your agent basically said you could make a bit more money if you added these skills on. So you went, yeah, sure, I'll just do that. Most people would think, I couldn't possibly do circus skills in a million years. But you never seem to have that kind of, oh no, I couldn't possibly do circus skills, I'll just give it a go.
Yeah, just give it a go. And I think it was an agent that I'd built a really lovely relationship with. So I knew she was going to look after me. Naomi, don't get me wrong, I was absolutely terrified when I first started silk walking. Like, it was not easy for me. It was really difficult. But from that did give me the confidence. And I did have like a really lovely life. I was living in London with my boyfriend. He was so supportive. I had nothing else to really worry about other than, how will this go? And the promise of better paid work at the end of it is always going to spur you on, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing, that you kind of have to balance that, doing something that you love, but not turning it into a chore where you then hate because it's all about the money, right?
Yeah.
That's a really hard one to balance. At what point did you kind of think, I'm gonna build this into a business? What was that kind of trigger where you kind of think, I could do more than what I'm just doing now and performing?
So I think the trigger was being in Tina the musical. We actually toured around Germany, which was phenomenal. And we did a show in Berlin to 5,000 audience members. Like it was like I was at a Tina Turner concert. I was one of her dancers. Like it was crazy. And then I got on the plane home on the Sunday and I was teaching ballet for £8 an hour on the Monday. And I was like, no disrespect to people who do that, that's totally fine. But I was like, I feel like there's something more that I can do here. So and I was also turning 30 at the same time. I wanted something that was mine. I thought, you know what? I'll teach, but if I'm teaching, I've got so much experience. I'll open my own school. And then I looked around, there was loads of dance schools, and I thought, I've got all these random circus skills. Why not make it a circus school? So that's what I sort of decided. And it was still meant to be a side hustle. It was supposed to be alongside my performing work. And then very quickly, when I put one Facebook post out there and it sold out in like 2 weeks, I was like, oh, this is a thing. So it went from there and we built it from there, really.
What was that first class like?
It was absolute carnage. Because I'd only ever taught dance, right? I'd never taught circus. So I spent all of my money on this aerial rig, and I kid you not, I had hand sewn juggling balls from an old skirt and some rice. Like that is what I had bought, some ribbons. And me and my really good friend Mel, I was like, baby, you're gonna have to come and help me. There's 30 kids who signed up for this thing. So she came along. She can do acro and some circus skills as well. And we looked at each other at the end of the day and we just went, we need more help. So we rang all of our mates that we knew, like, can you come and do this? Can you come and do this? And throughout that week, we had like 5 days of figuring out what worked with those kids. And I was like, right, we all went for dinner on the Friday and wine, very much needed. And we're like, right, well, it worked on Wednesday because there was 3 of us and we all had 10 kids each and we rotated round and that really worked. Let's stick to that as a format. And then that gave us the confidence to go, right, let's do it in summer then. And it went from there.
Just taking a very short break to tell you about something I've got that I absolutely love and think you will love too. Now, I know how many of you hate creating content, and it's my area and zone of genius. That is exactly why I've created my really fun filming days. And yes, content can be fun. So if the thought of creating reels makes you cringe, or you are sitting there wondering what on earth to film, this is exactly what you need. On a really fun filming day, you'll be with me and 3 other amazing business owners to create a bank of content in one go, so you're not constantly setting up your camera, trying to think of ideas, or putting it off until next week again. In just 3 hours, you'll leave with over 60 reels and 30 photos that can be used over the next 3 months and reused and repurposed however you want. And I have got sessions coming up all over the UK. To find out more, check out the link in the show notes or just drop me a message with the word fun and I'll send you the details. I love that. I love the fact that you had to actually hand stitch juggling balls and just make them yourself. Like, that is the world of the show must go on, right? That's what you learn in the world of theatre. Of there is a show to deliver, you have to deliver it no matter what. So just figure it out. I really like that. What have you probably learned, or what have you found the most challenging from the shift from being in that performing space to then being on the opposite side of that, where you are like behind the business? What has maybe challenged you more than you were expecting?
I think that if I'm being really honest, which I know we want to be on podcasts, it's the like physicality of it. So when you're a dancer and you're constantly training, I could hop on a hoop and show off, right? And it would be totally fine. And then last Sunday, I decided, me and some of my elite children decided to all do a drop all at the same time. Naomi, I have not been able to move my net for 10 days now. And I think that's what I found hardest because I'm not in that fitness anymore. And it really is a struggle and an effort to do something that I used to find really easy. And that I think is probably the hardest thing that I'm finding at this moment in time is, yeah, because I either have to stop doing so much business and train more, or I have to realize my time is better spent with my business and accept that maybe I shouldn't be dropping with some teenagers from 6 meters high on the silks, you know.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I was a competitive gymnast when I was like in my teenage years, and I had to make the choice between doing gymnastics or music, and I went with music in the end because the career would be longer, believe it or not. That was the practical decisions you're making at age like 14. But I, even in my 40s now, I'm like, I had to really train to get flexible. It was so hard to get to that flexibility because I am not naturally that. And now I'm just so cross that I can no longer do the splits.
So frustrating, isn't it?
It used to be so easy and I could do backflips and it was fine. And now I can't do any of that. Like,
Oh,
when you creak when you get up, I know exactly what that feels like. So, yeah, I totally understand that. Is there a part of you that kind of misses being able to just go and perform and be on stage and that kind of feeling, that buzz? You can't explain it really, but there is a certain feeling you get that only performers really understand what it's like to be in those moments.
yeah, for sure. And I have likened this a little bit in business. It is like what I like to say is my parallel now. I always used to love when we finished that buzz. You know, when you're just looking around like we just nailed that. That was always my favorite feeling. And in business, it's after a big event, so like my franchise conference or training where I've just trained new franchisees. When we finish that training and we look around and go, that was wicked. That's how I liken it. But I did do a sold out performance on International Circus Day, and there was 150 children performing, 358 tickets sold. It was completely sold out. It was incredible. Children and adults with learning difficulties from all over the UK were coming to perform. And I made the decision to host it because I missed being on stage. There's no way on this earth I could do a silk solo or anything like that. So I decided to host it. I put on a really lovely top hat, sparkly costume, and I went on and hosted it so that I sort of still got that feeling of being on the stage. And I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's amazing. Are you going to do an event where you can combine your world of performance and that world of business and collide it together?
I
Like
mean, that would be incredible, right? It'd be very much like Big Festoon.
it would, but in the world, I would be there. I would be your number one ticket holder. It would be incredible. What do you think? Because you're now a mum. Is it 2 children you now have?
Just the
One, just the one, just the one.
and 2 cats.
2 cats, of course. Yeah, definitely have the cats outnumbered the children, I think. But how has that made you change how you become a mum? Like the world of performing and like the endurance it takes on your body of both being a mother as well as being a performer. They are quite challenging things in different ways. Have you felt that kind of shift and has that been like really tricky for you to, or have you kind of just been able to embrace it?
Um, it's the health thing again. So it wasn't the best birth. I'm quite open with it. So struggling with like, oh, my body used to be able to do so much awesome stuff, and now I can barely pick my toddler up without going. When I walk down the stairs, he goes, because he's copying me. Oh goodness me. But no, I think I the business wise, having the baby is like made me go, okay, this isn't a game anymore. We're not playing at this anymore. You have a young child to bring up. And not that I have been playing in business before I had him, but that is a very stark reminder, what is the profit margin on this? Is it worth it? Whereas before I'd be like, oh, but I love it. It'll be really fun. Now I'm like, would I rather be at home with Felix?
Yeah,
So,
I love that.
it does make you think that a little bit more and put the numbers first rather than the vibes.
Yeah. Do you find that hard though? Do you find it hard to like think in that way?
I do because I have always just done things that fill my cup. So then to have to admit that perhaps I shouldn't be waltzing off to wherever to do something for hardly any money because it will fill my cup. Actually, that's quite difficult because I don't have that same jet set lifestyle that I used to have. You know, I used to be in Berlin one week and then the Bermuda the next week. And, like it was, and I'm just always at home now. So that's a bit sad.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, I do.
I think that is sometimes the hardest thing, is to realize that maybe what you did have is not necessarily there. And sometimes that takes you by surprise, I think. It's something you don't expect to do
Yeah,
or
and
expect to happen.
you have to sort of think, I'm so grateful to have had that time, but at the same time, you can still be sad that you don't have that anymore, you know? So that's sort of what I'm battling with now, is like, I don't want to take that away because the adventures that I had were phenomenal. So I don't want to be sad that I don't get to do that anymore. I want to be really grateful that they happened, and then accept that working hard on my business now will mean I can go on more adventures with Phoenix later, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I can totally relate, because having worked in the world of events, and I used to be able to do 3 weeks back to back of like 18-hour days, because events went into one after the other. And at the moment, even now, I'm just finished one performance on Sunday. I'm into 2 different orchestra rehearsals. And even then, I'm having to go to one orchestra. I can't rehearse with you this week. But even though I used to, I can't do 6 rehearsals in one week anymore. My body won't cope. And it's so unbelievably frustrating. And I miss that vibe of being in that world, in that behind the scenes, in the trenches of these events. But every time I do an event, it takes a bit more of a toll on my body. And it's so hard to get that balance though, isn't it?
Yeah, and because I will just keep pushing, there's nothing in my brain that goes, Jess, take a break, until my body goes, you're taking a break, babe. So
Yeah.
like I sort of almost need to learn that, I need to put those boundaries in place. You'll have to help me. But of when I look at my diary and manage my energy, I guess, because, health is really important. So I do need to be looking at my diary and going, is this too full actually for me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have definitely not got that balance right. I'll tell you why, because I wasn't supposed to be doing a rehearsal on Friday, and I went yesterday. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. No problem. Yeah, I'll leave. No worries. All good. So it's really hard, because you're so used to just being able to keep up at that level, and then not being able to do that. It's a real challenge to kind of get your head around it. Do you find, and I've found this, that your body doesn't have an off switch anymore? It doesn't know where the off is until it's far too late.
Yep, definitely that. Yeah, my brain doesn't have an off switch either. It just is constantly on until it just shuts down altogether and I'm, having a rest.
I want to talk a little bit about the franchising side, because in in the creative spaces, as I've maybe mentioned, we're often taught that you're doing it for the love, not for the money, which is true in so many ways, as we've already kind of highlighted here. But actually, it's not true that you can't make money from the creatives, and you have absolutely demonstrated that by taking your passion and helping other people take their business passions to franchise their business. And I know you've said before, anything can be franchised. So what have you seen that's been franchised, which is maybe a bit out there, that most people aren't expecting to be franchised?
Oh, there's some really exciting ones coming up with clients that I have recently worked with, but I feel like I
Amazing.
shouldn't share that news before they're ready to.
No.
But I think my bold statement of anything can be franchised has really made people think. And so we've got some really exciting franchises coming out, but there's all sorts. And there's also like license models, so I run a franchise and a license model, and quite harmoniously, because my ideal franchisee client wouldn't already run a business because I want them head first, feet first into this franchise business, right? But my license model do already run a business and they bolt it on. So that hasn't really answered your question because I'm being very secretive about my clients. I'm sorry.
No. No, I love that. No, I love that. Absolutely. I think you're right in the so many ways, because I often think about, like, I had, obviously, as you know, I had the cafe, bar and bakery. that my long-term plan was always to franchise out. Unfortunately, COVID and the cost of living crisis got in the way of all of that. But that was a really simple model for me to franchise. Whereas I know we've had the conversation where I go, well, I just do marketing. It's not that interesting. How is that franchisable? Who would want to kind of invest in something like that? That's my inner voice. I know that there would be people that would be like, I'm going to give you like a business in a box and you can go off and just become a social media person or whatever you want to be. So I think there are, which again still sounds, compared to like a cafe, bar and bakery, which sounds far more exciting than what, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I love that there are absolutely no limits to what can be franchised. And you are definitely the expert in this, because if anyone can take circus skills and turn it into a franchise model, it's you. So there is definitely no limits to that. What has been your kind of throughout your career, what have been your like top standout moments?
Oh, that's a really good question. Definitely my first cruise ship. It was phenomenal. I was sailing around the Caribbean. We did 3 shows a week with no additional anything. We just did 3 shows a week. That's all we did. The friends I made on that are still my best friends right now. It really was a standout moment. And then I would say another one is when I was in Peter Pan, and Captain Hook was played by the Fonz, and I was a dancer, and Natasha Hamilton from Atomic Kitten was pregnant at the time, and I was her understudy, and she went off ill, so I had to step in and be Peter Pan, and I had to fight the Fonz on stage.
Wow.
And
I mean, that is a career highlight for sure.
yeah, at Liverpool Empire as well, so all my family were there. The company manager had rang my mum to say, "Look, she's going on stage as Peter Pan." She hadn't even told me. Like, I didn't even know. But it was amazing, and it was just a real, standout moment. And then I would probably say the most recent one was definitely International Circus Day, where loads of my franchisees came from all over the UK. I had people from other aerial schools there from all over the UK. People with learning difficulties, a choir, 55-person choir, circus mashup thing going on. It was phenomenal. And I'd say that was definitely another highlight. You know, a moment where you look around and go, I'm doing something right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely hope you go into doing an event that involves like the sky's the limit kind of circus style
I just
and
love
business.
it. Let's get planning.
Yes, I'll do it with you. It'll be so much fun. Jess, where can people find you and connect with you?
So I am probably best to find me on Instagram, which is Fabulous Franchisor. I do have a lead magnet, which is a quiz which shows you if you have a business that can be licensed or franchised. It's really fun little daft free quiz, and that's on jessicawesson.co.uk/stage-2-scale. So I'll give you that link. But you can take that little quiz, and then it'll tell you, what you need to work on to franchise your business. And then no matter how ridiculous it is, I have the audacity to say I promise I can make it work for you.
There you go. There's a challenge. Challenge accepted. Jess, it has been absolutely fabulous having you on Stories That Sell today. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to another conversation on Stories That Sell. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to check out the show notes for anything we talked about today. I'd love to hear what your biggest takeaway was from today's episode. So tag me on Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook and share it to your stories. I always love hearing what resonates with our listeners. And if you haven't already, make sure you're following the podcast, subscribe, leave a review and send it to all of your friends. I'll see you on the next episode.